This was a very hard script to make. I have been dealing with, and I'm still dealing with, bouts of just reliving old trauma from my experiences in COCSA and SA, which is that's not fun. That's not cool. And before anybody says anything, it's not due to Max's video or my experience with Max or any of the exes whatsoever. It's not because of that. What it was for me was the way Edwin handled the situation in his stream.
The videos by Steve and Spider Centaur if you want to know more about that. Oh yeah, and here.
If you want to know more about the block button killing people, go check out this other random guy. Okay, will do.
Mamamax's abusers to disrespect victims of CSA and SA. And overall, it was just a very shitty stream. I mean, aside from his allowing his mods to time out Chaos Penguin and Slow Convoy. And here's the thing. I know his history. I may not know a lot of it, but I know enough, right? And I could care less at this point what the hell he did. I mean, he was wrong, but does it affect me? No. You know what I mean? But I had already gone through at least, I think, the half page of the second page of the script, and I felt like I wanted to quit. I needed a break, and I took a little bit of a break before finally finishing the script. I'm still going through this trauma response. It's very hard right now to deal with. It's a lot of disassociation, it's a lot of anxiety, it's a lot of rethinking whether or not what happened to you happened, right? And learning how you're supposed to deal with it after like 5+ years of dealing with it. It's so hard. It's really hard, and these girls aren't making it any easier. So I wanted to say that before I go on with the script, because I had started writing the script I think around the same day that Max's video was launched. And I was originally working on the script for an analysis video, which was going to be on Beyond Birth, which is an analog horror series. But I felt that this video was a little bit more important, at least to me, because I did make a video before this, which you can go watch right now, which explained my side of the situation, even though it's a very small part. It's a very small part that I played. And to be honest, I don't know if I made that much of an impact, But I just felt like because I did what I did in, conversating with Lucy, getting into that expository argument with her, making my thread, interviewing Max, being interviewed by Max, interviewing his team, interviewing Max and his team together. It's too much to just ignore, right? So what this script is going to be is just a lot of summarizing the video if some people haven't watched it, and giving my personal thoughts, whether I interacted with them or not, and just general thoughts in general. And so this is a very raw recording. This is the first recording of it, and I feel like I need to get this kind of over with in a sense, so that way I can work on getting through to putting my focus on the Beyond Birth video to kind of get my mind off of things in a sense. And it's not because I don't care about the situation. It's just everything is a lot for me right now. And I feel like if I just get through this video, I'll at least have something to take away from this, right? So with that disclaimer, we can go into the video. So we basically got proven right again. Mamamax released a response video on July 29th of 2022, debunking the claims made by his exes and his high school friends. At the time the script is being written, there's been more development within this convoluted story, and for further context, this script is being written on August 29th of 2022, the same day Max's video dropped. So if there's any confusion on timelines, that's why. But when that video dropped, I wasn't prepared for its contents, and I definitely wasn't prepared for what would happen after. Welcome to the hellscape. For the past 2 months, Lucy, Paulina, Olivia, Haley, and Anthony have been spearheading the allegations they have on Max. These include doxing, abuse, sexual assault, grooming, stalking, and harassment. They have been using each other's stories to prove their own and swear up and down that they are right and Max is wrong. But we know better than that, don't we? Through tweets, TikTok videos, Instagram stories, and an hour-long video uploaded to Anthony's channel under the alias Magnetar, these videos have attempted to spin a narrative on its head, and then some. Anyone who disagrees with them is either an asshole, pedophile, animal abuser, or a cunt rag, as Anthony very kindly describes in one of his replies to a commentator on his original Mamamax blog before it got taken down for doxing Max. 2 minutes in, and Mamamax's full information was shown to over 3,000 people. For the sake of his privacy, I will not be showing any of the footage that directly doxes him. I will say this now so that everybody knows where I stand on this doxing argument. If you dox anyone for any reason, even if you hate them, you're a dick. Doxing someone doesn't just affect the person you're targeting, it affects everyone who may know or do know this person. We'll get to that later. What I plan for this video is to break down Mamamax's video and make it as easily digestible for a general public as possible. So I'll try to follow Mamamax's lead and go through the X's backwards, going from most to least documented. Since we're going in order of Mamamax's video, we're going to start with Paulina first. According to the video he posted and the interview he had with me and my bestie Steve Mysteries, he had broken up with Paulina due to a dispute, which was over Paulina's name being mentioned in Max's DMs with one of his team members. He agreed and asked to see Paulina's DMs since it appeared that she was having suspicious conversations with other men, but she refused, which prompted Max to break up with her. Months had passed and Paulina had asked to get back together, to which Max declined, but they still remained friends for the time being. He paid her money to watch his dogs while he visited his dad, and Paulina still continued to pressure him and try to talk about the things that Max did not want to discuss. Max then blocked her, prompting Paulina to ask his sister if Max was seeing anyone, to which she replied that she was, and it spurred Paulina to release a full Instagram story claiming that Max was an abuser literally a second, as his sister describes, after she told her that Max was seeing someone. Going forward, she claimed that Max knew her location, even though that was already public knowledge at the time when he did know her location, likely when they were together. Nothing had ever happened to her while her location was public, and Max believes that Paulina is using this to make him look crazy and a stalker. Paulina had actually publicly doxed herself and given up her own location multiple times, which is all documented on Kiwi farms dating back to years ago. He then provides screenshots on how Paulina should protect herself weeks before she was doxed, and Paulina reviews, got doxed, and went on to blame Max and his team, requesting that Max tell his team not to look into her anymore, which he obliged. The claims that Max wouldn't be physically affectionate with her due to it getting in the way of his videos was also claimed to be false, as Max displayed how he was physically affectionate with her and, in his own words, was, quote, very close and loving with her. This statement was followed by many pictures of the two together and even showed Instagram posts in which Paulina referred to him in a warm and loving manner before the breakup. And, just for my own tidbit, what neglectful boyfriend sends you flowers? What neglectful boyfriend who thinks that your affection is getting in the way of his videos would send you flowers? It makes you think. She claimed that one of Mamamax's team members was stalking her, even though they were only informing Max of what Paulina was posting online, which was proved to be a doxing risk. On her Instagram story, Paulina downplays her actions and her demeanor towards Max by claiming that, quote, "I was always made to feel unhinged and ridiculous for having emotions, boundaries, and my own needs." That is a direct quote from her Instagram story. Receipts were then provided by Max to show how the reality was that Paulina didn't respect Max's boundaries, showing multiple missed calls on Discord and spam texting from Paulina to Max directly. And, just for a little bit of context, some of these screenshots can be seen in Craig Beckett's Google Drive folder, though there are some new screenshots that Max has provided himself. So I will try to show those accordingly. Although they're probably already been shown. So, I don't know why I said that. But she then goes on to call Max's friends yes men, so that they become less credible sources should they choose to come out about her behavior and defend Max. Furthermore, Paulina claims that her psychologist and therapist agree with the narrative that Max is an abuser, despite him never meeting them, due to Paulina not wanting to be interrupted during her e-appointments. Paulina was shown to be ungrateful for being provided care by Mamamax and his family, and tried to appeal to corpse fans in light of the Pick a Side YouTube movement last year, in which Mamamax mentioned him as a point of interest in his video. I'm gonna link that in the description too, just for context reasons. She desperately wants people to believe that she stands for a cause in order to give her more credibility, claiming how it's, quote, unreasonable for an adult woman to make a police report because of time constraints, and that's how it's summarized by Max. And yet, they were able to find the time to post on social media and the allegations 24/7. Many of her claims on her Instagram have been proven to be false, and I would recommend going through Mamamax's video yourself for his side of the story and a more in-depth analysis. She then claims that anyone who defends Max is either an incel or an abuser, among other things that really just sound too silly for me to say. Mamamax then goes over how Paulina openly admits that he never hurt her physically or sexually, which I went over in my video covering the topic. She even mistakes people from Kiwi Farms and Lolcow as members from Mamamax's team and even Mamamax himself. Max has made extremely clear that he doesn't want anything to do with Paulina and does not want to speak to her, and that sentiment is shared amongst his team members. She was then seen to have suicide baited many a time during the course of her and Mamamax's relationship and threatened suicide, which was too many times to count. Multiple times this happened. He has no idea who Volpazira is as of late, although he states that they are a friend of Paulina. And, they haven't, officially met. She has continued to harass Mamamax, his team members, his family, friends, and loved ones since they broke up. And that is evident in the way she's manipulating the story to hers and the other ex's benefit. So, I was not surprised when her claims were proven false. And the fact that the only evidence we had at the beginning of this was Paulina's Instagram story was a huge red flag for me. Am I glad these were proven false? Hell yeah. But she is shown to be a dangerous and manipulative individual due to her harassment against Mamamax, his team, friends, loved ones, and family members. It is more than likely that we will see Paulina again in another shape or form sometime in the future. I just hope that she either never gets to see the blue light of a computer screen or gets ridiculed enough to realize that maybe you shouldn't dox your ex-boyfriend and make up false accusations against him. kind of crazy. Kind of makes you think. So, right off the gate, Olivia already came off as an uncredible source, as red flags were already raised from the minute she opened her mouth. Every time she has told a story about Max raping her, abusing her, stalking, and grooming her, Olivia has sounded way too happy to be a real victim of the things she's claiming. Some people could argue that victims of these things may end up appearing happy when they tell these stories. As someone who has been sexually assaulted for years, I could tell you right now that I'm not laughing through these stories. I could probably turn that into another video itself. But you know what? Just for context sake, I'll briefly go over it. So, I was assaulted by a friend of mine when I was a freshman in high school. He was 15 and I was 14. It happened in a classroom, an empty classroom. And the point of why we were there was to read stories for an English class. We were in the drama department, so it made sense. But he decided that he was going to pull me in by my chair using his shins and his feet, and hook them to the back of my chair and forcibly pull me in. I couldn't move. At the time, I didn't know really what to do. And he decided to put his hand in my pants. And in trying to tell this story again to the police was the most terrifying thing that I've ever heard or said. It was scary enough to just try to relive it, just to remember, you know. He ended up being moved to another school, which doesn't help anything. He could do it again. But, you know, and the whole thing about, oh, you know, a victim may be smiling or laughing, you know, when they tell that story because they're nervous. Like, I can sort of agree with that, but for most of us, none of us are laughing. None of us are cracking jokes or having such a TikTok T channel tone when we're telling these stories. So moving on, in a call between Olivia and Max that spans about 30 minutes, she admits that the only reason why she is making all these claims is because she was tired of seeing Mamamax's fan edits made by 13-year-olds. This phone call is linked in the description of Mamamax's video, so if you like, you can listen to it there. But if you don't think you may have time to go back and watch an hour and 5-minute long video, I'm gonna link the phone call in the description so that you all can watch it yourselves, or at least listen to it, because there's no photos. And so private information on both parties have been redacted, and this call was made before she joined a Discord server in which Mamamax's other exes, Haley and Anthony, currently conversate in. The age in which she claimed Mamamax to be when he abused and exploited her changed constantly, similar to Lucy, who we'll go over after the next section. Many of the things she claims in her statement, including Max giving her hush money and watching lolly porn during their relationship, was proven false. Screenshots were revealed to show that money was given to help her dog, who was sick at the time, and how Olivia was involved in one of Max's videos back in the day when he used to do hentai reviews. And yes, I did forget for a bit that Max used to review hentai. I mean, I just realized that he used to review that, like, weeks ago. I was not surprised that Olivia was debunked twice. I always knew she wasn't a credible source of information on Max, so this revelation was more of a refresher for me than it was an oh my god moment. So Sarah raped Max. There's no denying it from the way he tells his abuse story with her. He describes how Sarah has taken advantage of him multiple times, even on days when Max had come home late from work. And I won't go over the story too much in depth because for me, it's a bit uncomfortable for me to talk about as a victim of SA. Although I will say what he experienced is very similar to what I have experienced with other men. It is very similar. Even trying to sit there for a second playthrough for the script made me angry cry, and I knew I couldn't talk about this without breaking down. If you do want to know that full story, you guys can go in and watch that section. I'm gonna leave a timestamp probably in the description for that part, especially for those who are triggered by that story. It is one of the most heartbreaking sections of this video, and it goes to show how much damage she did to him throughout the course of their relationship. And that's not something that you can take back. She only claims that Max was the one who raped her after he released the video Life Sucks Heartbreak, which has been re-uploaded. Sarah has also claimed that Max's family dog dying of cancer was the fault of him and his family neglecting him, which was also proven to be false, as photo evidence and video evidence showed that they did their best to take care of that dog while he was on his last days and even before that. She has even leaked nudes and photos of Max without his knowledge or consent, despite him telling her to delete those photos later. Sarah also cheated on Max while they were together, as proven by his testimony in his video. There's no words to truly describe how I felt about this section. Sarah proved herself to be the worst ex out of the 4 who have publicly came out with her story, and I can never understand what drives people to hurt other people for their own sexual gratification, even after 5 years. 5 years, and I will still never really know why. But honestly, I feel that right now it's best that I try not to understand. Lucy claimed that Max has groomed and raped her during the time that they were together, supported by her ID, a redacted text conversation between her and Max, and a full doxing of Max's ID card, which included his full name and other sensitive information. The reason for the ID photos was so that he was truthful to his partners about his identity in order to build trust and understanding between both parties. This was, as he describes in his video, this was done ever since Lucy. It was done when they dated, and then he expected the same of them even after. She also claimed that she dated Max when she was 17, while Twitter screenshots would show that Lucy had told him that she was 18 and lied about her age. And now, Max explains that the reason that this probably happened was because she was 2 months from being 18. But moving on, they had started dating around August of 2016, according to Max. And like I said, this put Lucy 2 months from being 18, the age in which she claimed to be before she and Max got together. She did say, Max did say that, according to him, it had been a little bit when she officially turned 18. He showed her his face and told her that he was actually 20. She was fine up until he made a video on her. And that's when he was a groomer. You know, not when they dated. Not when they dated, but after he said something about their relationship. Oh, now it's grooming. Now it's grooming. So I won't go too far into this section specifically. A lot of it is disproving what she said on Twitter and in the interview for McIntyre's video, which for the Twitter section, I've already kind of gone over it in my video on it, which is why I won't go too deep into it. What I will say, though, is that her further actions proved to show the kind of person that she was. A little bit after Max's video dropped, she made a Google Drive in which she had doxed Max for a third time as well as his mom. I am not going to show any of this information here because I would be the same as these girls. And it's just wrong, you know? There is also evidence of revenge porn being used against Max that is also in the drive. And the only reason I classify it as such is because who knows, right? This could be used as something against Max. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and you know, it just sounds and looks like revenge porn to me. And that's what I think. I could be entirely wrong. Since this was a public tweet, I could be wrong, right? But from the way she's acted before the McIntyre video and before Craig's video, and what she did and what she did during those 3 months and after Max's video, that's just what I think. Again, I won't show these photos because this is all Max's private information and photos, and his mom's personal and private information. What I can say for the record is that Lucy has definitely proved herself to be possibly one of the biggest doxers in this situation. Like, next to Paulina, you know, like, aside from her, she's probably, like, second worst at this. Second worst. So Haley isn't an ex, but she was a woman that Max obsessed over in high school while he was serving in the military. The way that she and Anthony have spun this narrative is beyond my own brain capacity. For example, in one instance, she claims that Max had driven her to her place of work in order to stalk her, while in reality, Max was visiting his family over Christmas break, one of the only times where he would get to see him, if at all. His family can vouch for it, but I don't want to get them involved in any way. The only person that has really been, like, sort of involved for testimony reasons is his sister, but I don't want to drag her further into this farther than that. What Max has claimed is that they can't all vouch for him since they didn't let him out of their sight since he was going through a big depression battle and they were worried about his mental health. I'm only really saying all this as a direct statement that Max has stated, in which Haley claimed to have showed up to Cowboy Chicken, which was her workplace at the time, which she states in that interview. She also claims that Max sent her a composition book that threatened her relationship with Anthony. I believe it was either Anthony or it was Dustin at the time. It might have been Dustin. I could be misremembering because I'm looking at the script right now and it may have been Dustin. So you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because I probably am. But, you know, and the composition book thing was very iffy to me. If there was physical evidence of this book existing, that would have been damn good evidence to keep. right? Why didn't you report that into the police if it was so threatening, right? And the reason for it was because this book was a gift to Haley by Max, in which it had many a rap, which described how he and Haley would torture a man who Haley claimed had abused her for years. And out of respect of, of all parties, I'm not going to go further into that. Mostly because I don't know if it's true. No, I don't think any of us really know if it's true or not. I think only really Max knows, but, I don't really want to push that part any further because I don't want to go too far into that without enough evidence. So there was a kidnapping allegation, which didn't make sense when Max explained how Haley was not forced to come, but she wanted to hang out with him. He offered, and she said, yeah, sure. And, there was no, according to Max, there was no, dragging of the hand, she wasn't being pulled in or being forced. She followed him in, basically. She was never forced to stay with him inside this hotel room. It was like an inn, and she was able to get tampons, because Max had drove her to go get tampons, and she was also able to go to her classes. Which begs the question, if someone's kidnapped you, and they are trying to use you for sexual favors, why would they allow you to still go to your classes? Why didn't you call or make a warning text to anybody? Why didn't you call the cops? Why didn't you call the cops unless he didn't do shit? Okay? I don't have too much to say in Haley other than she's been proven to manipulate her side of the story for the benefit of herself, Max's exes, and Anthony. Oh boy, Anthony. There is evidence to show that Anthony was sexual with a freshman in high school while he was a senior at 18. There is evidence, as far as testimony, that he had sent this minor an unsolicited video of himself. This is completely backed up by Mamamax's sister in the conclusion of the video. I didn't really have much respect for him from the beginning, after the way he disrespected those in his comment section of his original upload of the Mamamax allegations before he got taken down. But was this revelation surprising? Just a little bit. It was ironic more than anything, but only surprising because of the irony of the situation, with Anthony having evidence against him to suggest that he's a predator. It's like predator accuses, predator hunter of being a predator. It's like, how ironic is that? So again, I don't have much to say about Anthony other than what Mamamax has already said about him. Those flags at the back that Haley has in the back of her room and the ones that Anthony has are really interesting. I know they don't mean anything in any way, shape, or form, but they are a little bit interesting. So I want to apologize for the last 2 or 3 sections being so short. There's been midterms that I've been dealing with. I've been studying for driving school, and I've been looking for a job specifically to have work experience, and I've also been dealing with this immense amount of reliving trauma. So it's been a lot. It's been a lot lately. So I'm sorry this video isn't as polished as I would have wanted it to be. I don't really have a lot to say about this as far as my experiences with these girls, since I've only ever had experiences with Lucy. All I really have is like my own opinion on the videos that that Magnetar made and that Mamamax made. But I do suggest checking my first video on this if you haven't already, where I'm go over a little bit of my side, the little bit of side that I do have. I do have strong opinions on these women making up these lies about Mamamax, which I'll do my best to go into without being disrespectful, because they're likely going to harass me. I'm surprised they haven't already. It may be because I'm not really spearheading it as much. I'm not really talking about it super much because I have other shit I gotta do, right? And I'm just a little bit surprised. And it's not, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, it's surprising, but not at the same time. They're probably likely gonna harass me anyways, at some point in the future, so I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you all right now how I kind of really feel about all this. I really do hate the way these girls and their supporters are going through the situation. From doxing Max and his mom to invalidating real victims of CSA, SA, narcissistic and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment. And now, trying to spin a narrative against Mamamax and his supporters in a way that prevents them from being able to defend themselves adequately. This situation perfectly explains why it's so hard for actual victims to defend themselves. We have people like Paulina, Lucy, Sarah, Olivia, Haley, and Anthony who will spread a false narrative and multiple false allegations of abuse, stalking, harassment, etc., which can invalidate real victims in the future when they tell their stories. Who's going to believe them when we have so many people making up lies about their allegations? I will keep emphasizing this, and I really want to hammer this in because it is important for victims to be heard when they come out with the stories, and it is important that we believe them. But when it is fishy, in some way or form, we are allowed to criticize it. That in a way that doesn't put any real harm against them, their family, or their loved ones. For example, and here's the thing, I'm not in the VTuber community, like, at all. Like, the only VTubers I ever watched was, like, maybe Kenji and Hootie, And those are probably maybe the few VTubers I watched. But there was a point in time where there was, I believe she was a VTuber, who had a story about her being, I believe she was being stalked at the time. I believe she was being stalked. I don't know too much, but I have heard that it was proven to be false. And with that being said, we are allowed to criticize these stories. You know what I mean? It's just like, your story can't just be locked behind, well, I'm a victim, so you should believe me no matter what. That's not how it works. You can't expect people to believe you just because you're a victim. There has to be credibility. There has to be plausibility. There's a lot of stuff that goes into these kinds of allegations and these stories, Like they have to make sense. First of all, they have to summarize it all, they have to make sense in the court of law. And just in general. You know what I mean? Because even like the smallest little bits of, information that doesn't make sense can really be damning. So aside from the ramble that I just went on, some of the screenshots in Mama Max's video are mine, specifically where he shows Lucy blocking me, refusing to be interviewed to control the narrative, and trying to make my thread about me being a clout chasing account, which I thought was funny. that was very goofy. I love that so much. I love it, when I'm being accused of being a cloud chasing channel. That's so fun. That's so funny. And to be quite frank, I don't know if I'm too serious on, this whole YouTube thing, if I'm being honest. So how could I be cloud chasing? If I would basically only be posting about 2 videos on a situation with plenty of time apart. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it was goofy and funny. It was goofy and funny when it happened. If it's needed, I don't think it's needed, but I am going to put that out there. Interviews are fine with me. I'm cool about it. But I am a little biased, a little bit. If you either have a neutral stand or are genuinely interested in my side, then I would be happy to oblige with an interview. But if the only reason you're going to do an interview with me is just to ridicule and make me feel like shit, then I'm not doing this interview. That's really like my only thing. It's just like, don't be a dick. That's it. That's all. Considering how Edwin responded to my video with Max and Steve, I do have a feeling that there won't be people out there who won't try to be dicks, but I digress. Thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It is a bit longer than usual, but not only did I really want to take my time, I just wanted this to feel right, And I've been dealing with other stuff in my life. And, this is still feels like a very raw reaction. Like, having to watch the video again just to go over everything, it still feels like I'm watching it for the first time. And it's kind of hard. But, we get through it. It's also really important to me that this video gets out to the public because of the small part I had in all this, and also just being a fan of Max. Which, again, I don't think I played a huge part in the situation at all. My part, I believe, was very minimal. It was very minimal. Only because at the time, I hadn't really seen anyone talk about this situation. It was still very early. But again, I don't know how big of a part I played. I honestly think it's just really small, but I felt like it was important for me to give a statement about this whole thing, considering my last video on this. Honestly, I didn't expect it to go on this long. I'm sorry that a lot of this is just my rambling, but and I'm sorry that it's not really professional or clean cut or whatever, but I don't think that's the way I want to do these kinds of videos. You know what I mean? I want to do these videos, with my raw commentary, I want them to be my real feelings without having to rehearse it over and over and over again for a narrative or for a script. You know what I mean? So with all that being said, stay safe out there, and for the love of God, don't dox people.